is there atheism or theism? I got to thinking about if everything's like arising from a field of consciousness, and consciousness is permeating everything, um, then let's say my brain is the amplifier for consciousness moving through everything, and that then allows me to have conscious experience in reality, to have qualia, experience the red of reds, the stop sign in front of me. It's an apple, it's a sunset, a sunrise, it's a mushroom, it's passion, a kiss, lipstick. It's so many different things. There's so many things which you could call it red. Have you ever said, have you ever thought like, oh, that, or said something like that hurt like green, or that hurt like blue, or that smelled like red, or that smelled like pink? Or that perfume or that cologne smells yellow, or smells pink, or smells fuchsia. Those are qualia. There's not one really set way of defining green. You can't sit there and say it's just a color, because it's more than that. It's the color of numerous things, its flavors, its scents, its sights. So anyway, it's a feeling. That person made me feel green. We say green with envy. That's another way to look at it. We're associating an emotion, an emotional state with a color. Anyway, so the point is this: is that my brain is the what do you want to say? The thing which picks up the signal from consciousness, and then amplifies it, and then I have conscious experience, and that's what life is basically: experience after experience after experience. So I got to think about atheism and theism. It's like, you ever tried to like when people say, like, parents are like, oh, my son's changed so much. My daughter's going through a goth phase, or my son's going through a boy band phase or something. And it's just, that's what happens, is we're just having a conscious experience of certain things that we're experiencing in our reality throughout our life. People go through phases or experiences. Usually that's somebody lining themselves up with certain things to have those conscious experiences, if that makes sense. So with atheism, if everything's permeated by consciousness is everywhere. Then, and there's a lot of good research on this, like the Qualia Institute. I think it's called the Qualia Research Institute. There's a number of well-to-do scientists, philosophers, psychologists, people that those fields, those empirical fields, that are really backing of such research. It's not pseudoscience. So I just want to point that out. Some people say it sounds a little far-fetched. You've been smoking something, but there's some really interesting stuff in it that actually makes more sense of the world. Makes the world make more sense. So the point is this: is that so if you line up with atheism, then you line up with the atheistic stuff that's in the field of consciousness. Carl Jung called it, there's a collective unconscious, a collective or collective consciousness. We've heard the world mind, or hive mind, or world soul, or these types of things. That's kind of what they're referencing. World tree. We're all just on a different branch of the tree, having this experience, but we're all still in the tree. We're all still in that conscious thing. There's a number of different terms basically found in a number of different cultures which back this up. So the point is this: is that with atheism, you'd have to line yourself up with an atheistic path, but then you would just be experiencing the information that's present within a field of consciousness, which is permeating everything, which would then help you kind of on that path. If you're a theist, you just line yourself up with whatever you were being a theistic individual with, and you start to see that thing manifest to you. So, like, when you think about this, there's really no right or wrong path. The only wrong thing to do, I think, and this, I'm not trying to preach or sound judgmental, is tell people what they need to be believing in, or tell people that they're wrong for believing what they're believing, as long as the person's not, putting a gun to somebody's head, or going up to a clock tower and shooting people dead because they don't believe in the same sky god as they do. I'm not trying to sound. I'm not anti-Christ. I'm not anti-Christian. I'm not anti-religion or anti-deity or any of those things. I just call myself spiritually open, if that makes sense. I read a lot about just everything. Literally everything: comparative religion, spiritual practice, atheism, future studies. I read about as many things as I can, basically. I find it all very fascinating, because to me it's just like it's all different viewpoints, on this planet, and how each person's unique and kind of relates to the planet in their own way. And I think it's a very beautiful thing. It's like I read this thing once, and it was like somebody asked once, about somebody went up to this cave, and in the cave was the Buddha. This guy was like, what do you know about God? Can you teach me about God? And, the Buddha was meditating. The Buddha was like, in the cave, the Buddha and God are one. And I find that a very fascinating thing. That's kind of how it feels, It feels like this, like we're creating these deities via archetypes. These things are within us because they're like maybe older versions, I don't know what, like of consciousness, or if we're like accessing the field to experience certain things. Some people go to church and they're very much aligned with church ideologies, beliefs, their viewpoint, and they're very stuck on that, and that's okay. It's acceptable. A lot of people are stuck on that and they're living in complete peace. But sorry, a truck was passing there. But a lot of people go to church and they line themselves up with a certain belief, and that's okay. That's that's their thing. They're practicing it in peace. But there's a lot of people that don't do that. There's not like a side that's right. There's not, like, when you think about it, even people that think they're being futuristic. I think the largest mindset on planet Earth is to live in peace. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter if you're into what you're into. When I say largest mindset, there's this thing, and it's basically like a group can share a mindset, and that mindset can become manifest. It's no different than like you have like 10 ladies on the corner, and they're all going shopping, and 9 out of 10 of them like Walmart better than Target, or Target better than Walmart, whatever. It's just, that's the group mind. One will convince the other, will convince the other, will convince the other. There might be 1 or 2 that don't get convinced. That's how that can spread, and that creates a group mindset where people think Walmart or Target, whichever, or in the group, one has more value than the other. One's a better, no pun intended with the value thing, but one has more value to the group. I'm not talking about those shopping prices. But so when you think about this, this relates to our life, on planet Earth, and it just feels like to me sometimes that makes the most sense. So I was thinking about, I was talking one day at work about something, and it was like, imagine a fish, and a fish gets chased up on land by a predator, and it sends a ping back, like a signal back to this conscious field saying it needs to be able to walk on land and breathe air, because that's how it's going to be safe. So then that stream of consciousness has the information in it, and then that sends the information to the fish, and over generations, or over however long, the fish then has primitive legs and the ability to breathe not underwater, and then eventually it evolves further by being something that moves up on land. This doesn't take away any, creator stories. I'm not saying I'm a Darwinianist evolution theory person. I'm not saying I'm a creationist. I'm just saying it's like, just kind of like if you view everything as permeated by consciousness, it's almost like everything's correct, and the only wrong thing to do is to be judgmental or persecutorial. I don't even know if that's a word, towards others that are just trying to live their own path and their own version of peace. So it's like, that's why I think the largest mindset on planet Earth, where the present and the future are going to take us, where the present's taking us, and where we're going in the future. So with the amount of information that we have via computers, networking, social networking, networking at jobs, just being outspoken, extroverted to other people, we're moving towards a more close-knit society where there's going to be less persecution for race, towards races, towards sexual orientations, just towards the things which a lot of people think, in the past, it's like, think how different people were. Now it's like, you're not the black race or the African, you're like not black or white, you're not a color. You're, we're all one race. That's, Homo sapiens, basically. That's our genus and species name. And then we're different cultures because we're spread on different parts of the planet. So our experience is shaped by the cultures around us. And the more we learn about other cultures, the better it is for us. As long as we don't allow this stuff that's kind of strange in some cultures to turn us off, towards other people. But anyway, so the point is that, I need to cut this video short, but the point is that I really think that if consciousness is permeating everything, it kind of makes, it really puts things into perspective about us to be kind of, reliant upon our own good actions towards others, and not turning to, certain certain other, like other people's opinions in certain groups to guide our way. Like we really have this moral agency towards one another, this responsible nature that we really need to kind of have manifest in our actions. So it's just a thought, and there's some really interesting stuff there if you ever study like qualia. It's like Qualia. It's just a really fascinating thing if you ever get into it. Anyway, just a thought.